this is my guide on how to spend 24 hours in the city of Wellington, New Zealand's capital city. And what better way to start your day but than going for a walk along Wellington Waterfront? Yes, it looks a bit grey now. I'm here in the middle of winter, but I can assure you other times of the year, this is probably a pleasant walk. But yeah, you can walk along the waterfront here, all the way over to there, which is sort of where Oriental Bay is, and that's what I'm about to do. So this is the famous Wellington sign by the waterfront. You might notice the eye is missing. I guess the idea is you stand there to represent the eye when taking photos, which my sister will now demonstrate. And there she is, completing the missing eye. So if you've been following my series of videos here from New Zealand, you'll know that I'm currently travelling from the bottom of New Zealand all the way to the top. And the past few weeks I've been travelling around the South Island, but Wellington is my first stop here in the North Island, and I've got to say, first impressions, it feels like a completely different country. The South Island was very remote, sparsely populated. It took ages to go from one place to the next, and it was very scenic. And yes, I've only visited Wellington so far here in the North Island, but it just feels so much busier. It also feels a lot older. The buildings are older here. I don't know, it's just a very different vibe to the South Island. But yeah, I guess I'm excited to see what the rest of Wellington and the North Island has to hold. So we're here at Oriental Bay, which has a sandy beach. Interestingly enough, this is actually the first sandy beach I've seen here in New Zealand. It's not quite beachy weather at the moment, but hopefully whenever you visit, it is. I don't know if you guys can see, but there's actually two people swimming in the water by the beach. It must be negative in the water right now. I don't know how people do it. They're crazy. Now, if you've been watching me long enough, you know I love a good viewpoint. And there's a great one here right by Oriental Bay. It's called Mount Victoria Lookout. And as you can guess by the name, we're going to have to walk uphill for a bit first. This is Mount Victoria Lookout. It was quite a short walk, only about half an hour, but it was very, very steep. But worth it in my opinion. Some great views up here, even if it is a bit dark and cloudy, and also quite windy as well. You get an idea of how big Wellington is from here. There's the port over there in the distance, and just behind it is the Sky Stadium, and then the rest of the city is along here. And then the other end of the lookout, you can see there in the distance is the Cook Strait, which eventually leads into the Pacific Ocean. This is a strait you have to cross when you go from the south to the North Island and vice versa. So you might be thinking, you've made all the effort to come up to Mount Victoria Lookout. Is that it? Is that all there is to do? Don't worry, there are a few other hidden gems here within the Mount Victoria area, especially if you're a Lord of the Rings fan. Lord of the Rings is probably one of the most iconic film franchises in the world. I'm not a huge fan of it myself, but I have seen it and I can appreciate why it's so famous and iconic. And if you didn't know, they filmed the whole franchise here in New Zealand. In fact, they filmed all three films back to back in the space of a year. There's a lot of locations that are used throughout the whole country, and one of those locations is here in Mount Victoria. So in the first film, The Fellowship of the Ring, the hobbits hide from those sort of hooded knights. I believe they're called the Nazgûl, if I remember correctly. And they hide underneath a tree from them. And that tree was somewhere here. I think it's here where the signpost is, or it might be up here somewhere. I'll put a photo up on the side so that you guys can see. And what makes it even more iconic is that scene was apparently the first scene that was filmed in the whole franchise all the way back in 1999. A lot of people come to New Zealand just to visit the filming locations from Lord of the Rings, and there's loads of tours that cater to that. As I said, I'm not a big enough fan to do any of that, but it's cool seeing locations like this whilst I'm just wandering about the city. And if you're here in Mount Victoria and you've seen the film, it's well worth checking out in my opinion. A very helpful local who just walked past us said that this is actually the filming location from the film where my sister is hidden now and demonstrating. Sadly, the tree is gone, so you're going to have to use your imagination a bit. Actually, you know what? I'll put the photo here as well so that you can compare. So you've had your fun here at Mount Victoria, you've been to the Lookout, you've been to the Hobbit and Hideaway. Now it's time to head back to the city and see what the rest of Wellington has to offer. We're back at the Waterfront Walkway, and here is the Museum of New Zealand. It's a national museum. It's free to visit if you're a local. However, if you're a tourist like me, and the reason you're probably watching this video is if you're a tourist, it's about $39 to enter, I think. I don't actually have the time to visit the museum today, but if you're in Wellington for a few days, it's definitely one to add to your list of things to do. So we were walking along the walkway and we've come across another seal. This one seems very peaceful. It's asleep, so we're not going to disturb it any further, but you guys got to agree, right? It's a very cute looking creature. Whilst Wellington is New Zealand's biggest city, that's Auckland, Wellington, as I mentioned earlier in this video, is its capital city, and therefore you can find a lot of government buildings around here, and one of them is probably one of the most unique government buildings I've seen in my life. So let's head over there and see what it looks like. So this unique shaped building in front of me is called the Beehive. It's about a 15-20 minute walk away from the National Museum. This houses the office of the Prime Minister of New Zealand, as well as some of the cabinet. And then the building to the right you see over there is the New Zealand Parliament. Now, you can actually go inside the Parliament for free. There's also free guided tours around the Parliament. I personally don't care enough to do that, but if you're a bit of a politics geek, why not? Right, I've got one more unique thing for you guys to do here in Wellington, and it's about a 10-minute walk away from the Beehive. What better way to end your time here in Wellington by getting the Wellington Cable Car? It's fairly cheap as well, it's only about $12. So you might have noticed the Wellington Cable Car isn't actually a cable car, it's more of a funicular, and that's because originally the trains here were sort of carried up via cables when it was originally made in the 1900s. It's only in 1970 it switched the current system of funiculars. So the cable car goes from the bottom of the city into a place called Kelburn Hill. It's actually a legitimate form of public transport. You can stop at various places along the route up the hill, even though from bottom to top only takes about 3 minutes. I guess it saves a lot of walking up hills. And the view from the top is not too bad either, even if it is a bit cloudy and it's starting to get a little bit dark. At the top of Kelburn Hill, there's a few things to do. There's a cable car museum, which is completely free to visit. There's also a botanic centre, which is also free to visit. There's a thing called Space Place, which has like an observatory in it. Sadly, that's not free to visit. And also there's a cafe here if you're feeling a bit peckish. So let's go ahead and check out some of those places. So you've had an amazing time so far exploring what Wellington has to offer, but now you want somewhere to eat and to have a chilled evening. Don't worry, I have the perfect place for you guys. But first, we have to go back into the city. I'm here on Cuba Street, which is like a famous street here in the heart of Wellington. It's famous for its restaurants and cafes. There's plenty of restaurants here, pretty much to suit all kinds of tastes and cuisines. So this is like the perfect place to have dinner and end your day of exploring here in Wellington. I'm going to go to a place called Roman's Kitchen for dinner. I guess now is a good time to end this 24-hour guide. Hopefully this video has given you an idea of how to spend your day here in Wellington, New Zealand's capital city. I've had a good time, even if the weather's been a bit cold and windy, but it's the winter here, so I can't complain too much. It's time for me to go inside and have some warm food. As always, I hope you guys are doing well. Take care, and I'll see you guys next time for the next episode of my New Zealand road trip.